Hey, I'm Dukes on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. A huge thank you to my current patrons who support me and keep mid-roll ads off my videos. It's a fantastic feeling to be supported not only by other players, and not only by those within the Eternal or Legacy community, but those who just enjoy Magic content. My content will never be behind a paywall, and these patrons allow that to continue to happen. I love being a member of the Maverick and wider Legacy community, and it's a privilege to have a voice within it. So here's to bigger and better things for the year ahead. Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with Abzan Maverick. I've been away from Tier 1 Maverick for a little while, doing things like Flashback, the Legends decks, which I think have really good potential. Yeah, just really enjoying kind of green-white at the moment, but I did want to come back to Abzan. Obviously there's some new printings, like Doorkeeper Thrall, which I think is pretty sweet. Kind of an upgraded version of Hushbringer, which is nice, and I think could do some pretty good work in Legacy right now. Especially turning off things like Chrome Mox, the Ring potential, obviously living weapons as well. Stopping the germs is pretty sweet because Kaldra can be a bit of an issue with this deck, so really liking Doorkeeper. Nothing else too different, like both Teeg and Ouphe in the main deck, just to have some more game against any sort of combo decks. Yeah, that's about it. Hey, past. Really need a haircut, I will say that. Yes, Legacy League, play points, Mav, let's do this. Nice. Yeah, I know Mark's been doing well with punishing, which is cool to see. Harry and Achilles working around with Abzan as well. Clips for Life on blue-white. I believe they also did a recent Bant stream, which is pretty cool to see. Bant with Force as well. I haven't seen that since like the kind of Rejuke style 2013 versions, which were obviously quite good at the time. And Bant, I feel like, should be there. Alright, beware. Sadly, mana here just isn't great. We have the Noble Hierarch, but no mana to cast it. And I don't think I'm happy to go like Scrubland into like open mana. Hey Jig, welcome. Hope you're well. Yeah, this could pretty much be L's. So we will get rid of this. Okay, this is much better. I think here I'm happy just to bottom the Cradle and keep the others. I probably wouldn't mind a 1-drop here either, so if you can find one of those, I'd be pretty happy. I'm going to keep the Windswept Heath as well for the Renegade Rallier. And hopefully get there. Jack, are you going to be playing at the Mana Clash in April? This could be a fast one. Probably not. Okay. Four mana. Still pretty good. Another name sticker. 7. Okay. Still pretty good. But one of the weaker starts, which is nice. Wasteland. Okay. We don't have great outs, if any, but we can always try. But them also having 4 mana already is pretty tough. Like a Ringleader here is another hasty creature. The Muxus and Rubble Master are both big threats, but only the Mum is around. I think that's just gonna do it a little bit too much. We have the Snuff Outs, which is nice, and Dismember. I like the Thralls here as well. I don't mind the Forces going after Chrome Mox and typically Blood Moon post board as well, so we'll see how many of those we want. A lot of the combo stuff is an easy cut. I don't mind Ouphe still, if we can try to get a Chrome Mox, but typically these, like Liberator still okay, Fiend is a big creature, Mum, Swords obviously. Bowmaster is okay, but not great, as a lot of their goblins are X2s. I like the onces. Grist still gets the board a little bit choked up. Probably the Beast. Then it could be the Ouphe. Like, we kind of have the Thralls for Chrome Mox anyway, and then if they do have them, we just have the Force of Vigor. Thoughtseize on the play is also pretty interesting. Yeah, it is kind of sad. Thalia's kind of just become a Fiend Artisan target. Sometimes still nice against the blue decks and combo decks, but a lot of the Delver decks are now Grixis, so having like Bowmaster is just kind of an easy out is always pretty tough to try to keep up with. And I guess a lot of like combo decks are now just in a phase where they can play around the one a little bit easier than previous years. I guess if I'm bringing in like a fair amount of non-creature, I could cut out the onces and move towards the extra force. The force is very feast or famine though, which kind of sucks. Like, there's a lot of starts that the deck has where force doesn't really have that much of a play. It could even be... Maybe the Ouphe is worth it, even as just like a 2/2. Well, it could be too slow, but it's pretty hard not to drop this. Like, what it's really missing is a removal spell to hold up turn 1, but... I'm just going to play into Wasteland at this point. I guess I could get a forest and then get a... It's a little bit tough with the black mana as well. Hey, Lackey, welcome. The really tough part is if they keep a 7, they're probably just like going off turn 1. It's like it's tough to like try to like keep that. Like, it's if we get turn 2, we're pretty happy. Like, worst case is turn 1 Moon and then like say like Fury to remove Noble Hierarch. But the forest is just a little bit awkward. I guess we then have the Scrubland to cast either one of these, which is nice. This is the turbo, yeah. Lead on Mum. I guess, yeah, okay, we'll lead on Mum. I probably should have just used the Windswept then, as that could get a basic, but... I guess if we go like turn 1 Noble, turn 2 Hate Bear and Mum, and then just get like Furied or hit with Pyrokinesis, that can really suck. Dismember's really nice. I think here we're just going to hold up the Doorkeeper, which also stops Chrome Mox, which is nice in case they have like land Chrome Mox. Could have also played the Windswept Heath to fetch up a basic as well. Okay. Blood Moon. Yeah. See, this is why we should have kept up the basic. Yeah. Just a little bit rushed from me, to be fair. I think it's then the Doorkeeper we're going to play. At least Force of Vigor's a nice draw as well, seeing we have green cards to pitch anyway. But yeah, just little things. Like, I think there's no real downside to playing the fetch last turn, stopping that kind of ability to have the mana up. Rabblemaster. I probably want to dismember this. I don't want to start blocking and using Mum just to protect. Okay. Hey Strass. A huge thank you for the raid. Hope you finished up your stream well. Really cool to catch you live. It does have menace, so we can't actually block here. I think they play both. That's very true, they can't Fury us, which is nice. So I wonder if we just hold... Yeah, if they cast another creature, like we could allow them to assign blockers and then give protection to the one they want to kill. But then if they have another creature, creature to throw, they can just throw in response. So I think we might as well attack here. But yeah, small things. Like, this game would be quite different with that Windswept Heath as a forest. They're going to play the Chrome Mox. Interesting. Well, that does nothing, thanks to Doorkeeper Thrall. Oh, actually, they probably still just want it for the Mum, or to throw. So it does do something. Let's be clear. Yeah, maybe Blood Moon is just such a part of their game post-board that it's like you just have to have all 3 Force of Vigors. I think we just try to buy one more turn. Two mana. Pump it again. Yeah. Yeah. I think we're just a little bit too locked out. Yeah. Tough. Yeah, definitely want to be a little bit more patient on, and just think about that that opening few turns. Because to be fair, we were trying to play around Blood Moon from turn 1, and then just turn 2 just didn't play the Windswept. But yeah, it's a Bombardiers and Fury have really changed the kind of mono red matchups I feel for Mav. Like typically against like mono red prison, I felt pretty good, but since those printings, it's really changed. Have quite a good matchup against creature decks. Pretty tough as well. Like Hushbring, sorry, Doorkeeper. Even though it stops Fury dealing the ETB damage, it just gives them a free 3/3 double strike, which is tough. Yeah, even things like Snuff Out making us move towards like an opening of Bayou is obviously worse against the Blood Moon decks. Not a big fan with both Cradle and Dryad Arbor here. I think there's a better 6. And this is actually it. Keep this in bottom a Verdant. Actually, probably just bottom the Windswept. Footsies. I'm happy not to cast the once here. Hey John, hope you're well. Always nice to see you active in the Maverick Discord. Unless there's another John Dorian, I assume not. They did go down to 6 cards. Went 3-0 at Saturday Night Legacy. Very cool to hear. Very nice. What sort of Maverick were you playing? I am playing the Mana Clash event. I'm not too sure what I'm going to play yet, but we'll see. This could be Reanimate on Grist, which thankfully I'm not too upset about. Like we could try to... I might actually try to find Endurance here. No, but we do find double creature, which is quite nice to have the extra Exalted. Double Fiend's also interesting. I actually kind of like Double Fiend. But thankfully we've beaten Term on Grist a few times. Happy to get Bayou and then go for Noble. The Grist potentially putting creatures into their bin as well is pretty scary. Zoom, okay. Reef's pretty good. They have 1 card left. Hey, always home. Mumless Abzan with 4 Bowmasters, very cool. Coffee would be cool, definitely. Yeah, man. I think, like, potentially Bowmasters a solid draw. I wonder if I still play the Forest here. They do get to tick down, get rid of 1. QB off the top would be sweet. Yeah, Grist is really solid. Especially being like green sunnable, I find that really cool. But like, we're still at 17. This is pretty much a Delver. A mana's online, which is nice. It's like even a green suns off the top is pretty cool. Wasteland. At least this mana opens up the line of drawing into green suns for Questing Beast, which is pretty sweet. Big shout out to Eli as well. I saw your write-up on the Legacy Showcase and it was really good. For anyone who's wanting to read that, I can find it here. It's always cool reading stuff from like the site of someone else. See if they block. I assume they don't because then they can still sack the insect to deal with the creature. That's really interesting because even if they don't block, this goes to 3, and then if we play a threat, they can still tick this down to 1, get rid of that insect. Now if they want to get rid of the knight, they might have to get rid of the grist. Oh, sorry, yeah, the grief. Attack first, then get rid of grief, potentially. Oh, tick up. Okay. What do I like doing here? I could try to draw a card off the top. I don't mind that. The attack doesn't really do anything. I guess it potentially gets rid of the token. I think we do want to see if they will trade. They played a land, which is interesting. So they have 1 card left. I think we just try to trade here. Because using the knight drawing into just another land isn't really helpful. In their grave, they have 1 creature. Ah, that's what I'm missing. I actually really like Scrib Ranger in a version with mums, and I think that should be in here somewhere. Having this Archon looming as well is a little bit scary. We'll take 1 from the alt. Yes, we do have to consider that. Tick up. Swamp. Okay. Questing Beast time? No. think now's the time to see if we can draw. Scrib does feel better without Bowmaster. They allow it. Okay. Well, now we still have Dryad Arbor, which is nice. And Mum. If we want to double block. They're gonna sack. Okay. Sure. Options are definitely limited here. Because now we have to go to 1. We don't even kill the Grief. I actually don't think we really have an out, but we'll see what happens. Like, even if we draw into Swords to Plowshares, that doesn't do anything. Like, Wastelanding ourselves puts them at 10. Liberator isn't great. Yeah, tough. I like these. I don't mind the Thralls. There are a few things that it hits. Thoughtseize and Surgical is good. The Endurance and a Force of Vigor. Typically take out some number of swords, but seeing that kind of mono black, I'll probably just keep them in. Beast, Teeg, Knight, Ouphe just doesn't do enough. Mums. I don't mind going down on a Hierarch. Really like Teeg for like the Prismatic Ending, Leyline Binding, Force of 4th Aerolingus decks. Yeah, the Beans decks it's pretty good against. It could be some number of Fiend, to be fair. Like, Fiend can be okay, but we'll see. A little bit too slow. I really want to hand with like Deafening Silence or Thoughtseize. This does have a sword to hold up. Keep put back Dryad Arbor. Probably not using the once here anyway, so I don't mind starting off with just land pass, hold up sword, once before sword. Okay, interesting. Kind of like just holding up the Doorkeeper here. Unmask. I think in response to this, I'm happy just to put that Doorkeeper in play. And then probably just hold the once. See if they want to take the once or the sword. There's also a world where they could like potentially play around the Doorkeeper, so I should give them the ability to take it. Like sword can deal with Grizzlebrand potentially. But I guess if they go for Grizzle, then they just take the sword. Okay. It's always nice to have. I think you were just looking to once end of turn, find like a 3-drop and then cast it on our turn. This does look to be mono black, yeah. There's Grizz. Thankfully we have the surgical. That is going to pass. I think it's just the Knight here. Bowmaster's cool, but Knight will be a big threat to finish this game off quickly. They thankfully won't be able to reanimate the Grizzle because we have the surgical. And this does change the clock quite significantly. Thalia here still allows us to hold up the surgical. Entomb again. Troll's not too bad. Thankfully we can just beat the troll with double Wasteland ourselves. We don't really need mana after that. So they get a reanimate Grizzlebrand. Can actually just pay for that as well, which is nice. They could potentially concede here, yeah. So we're very close to lethal. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. Because they're on black, I might just bring in the extra Force Vigor on the draw because of Animate Dead. And I might just go down on the Fiends. I could cut Wastelands as well, yeah. Maybe, cut 2 Wastelands. I don't mind the mums, but especially having flies in the deck. Okay, well, Destiny chose. Okay, like we have Endurance plus Sword, and we have an actual plan here as well, so I'm pretty happy to keep this. A little bit tough against the Grief Reanimate line, but even then we have some plans. Yeah, I think potentially for this kind of matchup where it is very quick, cutting mana is probably fine, like down to like 22 lands, and then maybe like cut 1 or 2 mana dorks. Because it is nice to go like 2 more mana dork, turn 2, 3 drop, but you have so many good 1 drops and 2 drops that interact that you don't have to be that aggressive. We're also getting a turn here, which is nice. Potentially. Would have held up swords there, but I think they're kind of going for like an end step and tomb line. They're just holding up the endurance is fine. Like, I think even without these 2 cards, this hand is quite good against Grief. Hopefully it's not like Entomb and Reanimate as the last 2 cards. They pitched a Grief. Oh, they're going to go for the Endurance. That's really interesting. Because the Grief takes out the swords. We don't really care about the Endurance as there wasn't anything in our yard anyway. Once. Okay. I think here I just like holding up the Scrubland while also building up my mana. Or holding up the sword, sorry. Noble. Yeah, interesting to see the value of Grief when I'm tapped out seems quite good. Zoom. I guess maybe because their last card was Exhume, they wanted to get it out of the bin. Okay. Still pretty fine here. Because Green Suns and Knight are pretty much the same card, and then once could potentially find like a 2-drop here. Even Questing, oh, we did trade Questing Beast out. I guess like Green Suns for another 3-drop is pretty good. Like Grief, or not Grief, sorry, Grist. One card for them. Okay. I think here it's just going to be Knight hold up once. Could also once first to see what we draw into. But I think Knight's probably just going to be the best hit anyway. I always think of Fairy Macabre as well in these sort of builds with the Once Upon a Times. Fairy getting around like Cephalid's pretty good. See Cephalid in a few leagues. Take the 3 here. Now they're in a tough spot because I feel like they are playing fair. Ooh, okay. Rallier, get back a land. The extra endurance is quite nice. I don't mind just holding up the endurance. Bowmaster, it's pretty sweet. honestly happy just to hold up both here and not attack. Okay. Cast Bowmaster. Ping them. I don't mind just drawing a card here. Maybe in case they had Bowmaster, I should have held the Bowmaster up. Okay. Honestly, I don't mind just the 1-for-1 trade here with the Pedal and then using the Knight to grow it. They didn't, like, there might be a world where I don't use Knight there if they float the mana, as if they have like opposition agent. Nice. Okay. 14, 15, 16, 17. Getting pretty close. There's a world where I just get Scavenging Ooze here with the mana open. That would have been pretty cool. I mean, Grist as well is just so good. But I kind of like that Knight is potentially just a 2-turn clock. If we draw Wasteland. Yeah, Wasteland's our line. Would we draw Wasteland? No, that's pretty close. 7, 14, 15, 16, 17. Alright. On the board. Which is always nice. But yeah, it's really interesting working through the different removal spells you can play, because Snuff Out I do like against goblins, but I also don't like getting the swamp off either Bayou or Scrubland for it. And that way I kind of like Dismember more, because Dismember also plays through Blood Moon a little bit better. But there are like a few matchups where Snuff Out's good, but Snuff Out not hitting things like kind of fringe things, I guess, like typically in Elves, like Fiend Artisan or potentially an opposition agent, Reef, Troll, Death Shadow, Traxer, Grizzlebrand. I guess with like the Troll, Traxer, Grizzlebrand, you kind of just hope to not allow them to get into play. Doesn't always work. But it's nice being able to like play a few different ones and see how it goes. So it isn't too bad. These could be just vanilla 2/2s, but we have spells and lands. We can cast everything in our hand. Okay, well, we tried. Endurance, Once Upon a Time, good picks. Grizzlebrand. I did run into Leyline Rhinos on Punishing. I don't think we're doing too much there. I think same sort of play here. These, and then just like the big stuff. Teeg. They are in red, so that's something to consider. The mums. I can't, like, some people take out swords, which I do understand, because you do try to hit them from the graveyard, not allow them to put stuff into play, but once they start into show and tell, it can be a little bit more tricky. I don't mind like one Wasteland, the Ouphe. Hierarch. Mana here, sadly, is just a no-no. Okay, this is much better. Keep this bottom the Cradle. And then it's going to be Deafening Silence, probably off Scrubland. That allows me to potentially draw into Wasteland next turn and also Thoughtseize. But just stopping the Dark Ritual starts is quite nice. Or even the Lotus Petal starts. Pretty crazy. They could still grief us. They're playing Sire Insanity. Oof. Which would be pretty brutal. But at least our hand is quite solid here. That makes me think they're going to be on a line with Show and Tell. Yeah, this is actually a pretty good showing of how Deafening Silence could potentially do nothing. Where they just go, turn one, look at your hand, take something, end of our turn, Entomb, and then on their turn, reanimate. They still get Grizzle, which I guess is still pretty good. So that's their spell for the turn, which is nice. We probably want double white in case we want our swords and then play Thalia, potentially. I could just play the knight, allow them to attack for 7. Is that greedy? They know about the sword from the Unmask. I think because they can draw 7, I'd rather just swords now and then see if we can attack with the big orc. Yep. Ooh. Oh no! What do we just then use the triggers to kill the Grizzlebrand. They don't gain life, and then we just attack through. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and they can't interact because they've already cast. I guess they haven't cast anything, but of course we just I guess either way does it because we can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7. Very true. Yeah. Pretty happy to run this back. But yeah, probably just dealing the 3 to them is good enough. Unfortunately, mana here again. Oh, okay. Happy to keep this. I think on the draw, it might be the Deafening Silence. Forest is a little bit awkward, but I do like having 2 land drops. I think it is the Silence. I take Thoughtseize. Okay. If they ditch a creature here and get the Show and Tell, we could Surgical the creature in case it is the creature they have in hand for the Show and Tell as well. Animate Dead Entomb. Huh. Okay. Noble's pretty sweet. I think here we're just going to cast the Noble. I could have fetched as well, to be fair. The fetch allows us to draw into Wasteland and also cast Bowmaster. Something like 2 creatures here into Land Petal or Land Dark Ritual Exhume would be tough. Would have to pick which creature we care about the least. Show and Tell Unmask. Okay. Thankfully, we kind of have things covered with the Show and Tell. Another sword. I'm just going to fetch here. Get Scrubland. And then just pass. Potentially, like, is there a world where we're supposed to Surgical Show and Tell? I think if they play a land and then fetch. Ritual. Yeah, the only card I'm thinking about is the white creature that can give like protection from instants or protection from creatures. Like, if they put... Yeah. Like, if they put Grizzlebrand into play here, we have Orcish in response and then Swords. If they put Archon into play, we have Orcish Bowmaster and Swords. I'm happy to see if they fetch for a blue source here. Yeah. They could, to be fair, they could also be fetching for a red source for looting. But we have that covered in the Bowmaster. I just don't like the thought of them. Yeah, I am going to hit the Show and Tell here. What are their 2 cards? It is Show and Tell and it is Grizzlebrand. Okay, nice. There we go. Fortunate that they had a pretty slow draw in game 3, to be fair. Alright, Jesus MTG. Pretty sweet hand, we'll keep this. I think it's just going to be a Bayou into Noble, hold the fetch potentially. Leyline, okay. That's fine. I wonder if this is going to be the Rhinos deck. The only issue is that I don't want to go and get Outland Liberator without having the mana open for it. But I don't want to cast the Teeg, as then we turn off our own Green Suns. So potentially I just want to go for Fiend Artisan. But then if it is Rhinos, a Fire dealing 1 and 1 is pretty brutal. That maybe we do just go for under like if they have a leyline, they have a leyline. That's just if this resolves as well. I think just making them have a leyline or removal is fine. And then following up with Teeg next turn. Okay. Honda chose to not shuffle. That's pretty nice. It could be Domain Beanstalk, because that's very true. Because of these cards, it's definitely not going to be Domain. So I guess we start with Teeg. And then just pass with Bowmaster open. Happy to fetch in response. Find Scrubland. Play Bowmaster. Thankfully can't be forced, which is nice. Oh, their own Bowmaster. Okay. Nice. Could have attacked with Exalted, but here we kind of get a little bit of a blowout, which is nice. And then I might as well draw a card right now, holding up sword. Okay. Can't cast that because of the Teeg in play, but I think that's okay. To fetch Bayou. Murktide potentially? Cabu, okay. Okay. Maybe just swords one here. No great attacks. Hey Saturn, thanks for the follow. Hope you're well. Also, Vigor post board's going to be quite good. I assume they get in for 5 here. Discard, draw. Discard, Leyline Binding. Okay. This doesn't have Trample, which is good to know. I could get Dryad Arbor, but I'm pretty happy just to untap and not draw it. Okay. I don't think it really matters here. I Might as well hit the open mana. Attack for 3. Teeg stopping the green suns here is pretty huge. Murktide. If we take 5 here, we're pretty much just dead, so I kind of have to block with Dryad Arbor here. Choke in this matchup is quite strong. Obviously, all of them being islands is pretty nice. Okay. To start. But again, like 24, when we don't really have a clock and they do, allowing them to gain life is pretty brutal. Also this, allowing them to just discard cards that they can't cast, thanks to Gaddock Teeg, or just extra lands, is also definitely nulling the effect of Teeg. Like there's probably a world here where we actually block with the Teeg, and then be able to cast Green Suns. I didn't want to, because if we draw into a swords, then it's fine. But we are getting to the stage now where we just have to. And like there's nothing great to get with Green Suns. Maybe Renegade Rallier, but like getting Grist, get rid of a creature, and then the Bowmaster and token just finish it off. Like Knight could be okay, but could be Renegade Rallier, get back a creature. Okay. Well, that's pretty interesting. So I think what we do here is 1, 2, 3, 4. We do need something to leave play. Maybe then we do just get Knight. Yeah. Could be Grist tick up. I actually don't mind that. A little less open to removal. See if it resolves first. Okay. So we have some options. Knight is obviously open to a lot more removal. Knight would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 8. Grist tick up. I think we're just going on the Grist plan. Put a knight into bin. Okay. I could also just Swords this right now before they get to untap into like Hardcast Force, and I think that's probably just the best thing to do. Okay. Interesting. Maybe they have another Bowmaster. Okay. Force Draw 2 is pretty good. I think the Wasteland's better for us at this point, especially with the Leyline, they have all colors. Okay. Draco is going to be pretty tough. First strike, hexproof, lifelink, trample, vigilance. Yeah. I think at this point, just a little bit too far behind. Okay. Collector Ouphe, obviously. Thalia. The mums are good. I could see some number of Manadorks going out. I obviously like the Force, the Carpet, the Forces, the Loyalties and Surgical are definitely interesting. Fiend is good. Endurance. It's a flash creature, but that's about it. Could be the Onces in this matchup. Two Carpet, Forces, Surgical. What is Surgical really for, though? That's the thing. Yeah. I'm happy with this. Gaddock Teeg is a good start, especially if we don't draw into the Green Suns kind of draw. Obviously, Teeg against the Force of Vigors and the Green Suns is a little bit tough, but I think Teeg is just so good in the matchup that keeping things off the board is a little bit better from their side. Okay. Sure. Turn 1 Noble, turn 2 Knight. Turn 3 Outland Liberator, potentially. No shuffle. Switch, Murktide. Okay. Pretty happy with that trade. Do you like starting off with Thoughtseize here? It's probably the Beanstalk that I care about the most. It's kind of a 2-for-1 because we have to deal with the Beanstalk at some stage. No shuffle. Okay. Thankfully that's not an issue, and we can get down Outland Liberator now. Just gonna go and get Scrubland here. Take it. Liberator. Okay. I think we just take this. I still have Force in hand. Can see what we draw into. Okay. I probably want to use the swords now just in case they draw into a blue card. And I assume we want to use it. Oh, they all have... Okay. So we first have to deal with the ley line. I think it's the Scion. Yeah, because we do have Grist, but that creates like tokens for this. This being a flyer is just a little bit too good. So draw a discard. It's pretty good. Okay. Potentially have to go for Renegade Rallier here. Is the Dryad Arbor better than the Hierarch? It's also a question. I think it being a 1 power is... I think it's still Renegade Rallier. What does Orc do? Orc takes out this one, gives us a little token. It's pretty interesting. I actually don't mind Orc here. Rallier gets rid of the ley line, but we potentially have Rallier next turn. Bowmaster also quite good against like the draw part. Hey Caleb, a huge thank you for the raid. Too kind. Hope you had a nice stream. I assume you were drafting. And hey, all those from Caleb's stream. MTGO on Twitch. I usually stream pretty fair legacy decks. We're currently 2-1 and down a game against this leyline version of 4-5 color. See if they discard, because if they do, this becomes a 2-2 and we just get to block this. Oh, they're going to exile. Okay. That's fine. Windswept. Okay. Can we go to 2? Now we potentially get... Even like Scavenging Ooze wouldn't be big enough. Sadly, we can't get Grist. But I do want to use its ability. I guess we could just get Grist here. Grist is pretty sweet. Gives us a creature as well to sack. Could also just trade, but I don't think that's great here. The Renegade Rallier would get back Bowmaster. Maybe that's actually the line, because then it also makes like future abilities of Artisan pretty good. We also just have like 5 power to potentially block the Kavu. Would be brutal if they have a Bowmaster here to take out Bowmaster and then just attack with everything. We go down to 1. Actually, no, they could. Yeah, that's, yeah. Okay. Almost want to ping the Cavu here, so that if they have removal, and we triple block, they remove this. This has 1 damage on it, and then this is only 3, so 4. So I think we do just go for them. They also chose not to shuffle. Okay. I wonder here if they don't attack. If they don't attack, Grist gets a bit better because we get to get rid of the token. They do attack. Oh, they're gonna draw discard. Beanstalk. Still ping. Happy to trade a permanent and a token. Nice. Bowmaster. Okay, that's pretty sweet. I think now we just hold up Fiend. If they attack and exile a creature to make this a 5/5, we can ping our own Bowmaster. Or we can play Fiend and get another Fiend. I actually like that. Ping them. Fetch to 2. Get rid of the token. Get another Fiend. I guess we could also get Teeg, but I like that Fiend is a 6/6. Hey Poppin, thanks for the follow. Hope you're well. Scion. Not the worst, but a little bit tricky. Hexproof, Lifelink, Trample, Vigilance. Okay. Oh, First Strike. And Trample. Yikes. Yeah, I guess it's really the only play. Liberator's here. Guess we could go for Grist, but they have Hexproof. I actually don't think we have another way to get rid of the Leyline. Like we could try to Green Suns for Endurance. That's 4 mana. Yeah. Too much value, sadly. Really hard to keep up with. But yeah, I think maybe for that deck, Pick Your Poison might be okay, as it deals with Murktide, Scion and Beans, and Leyline. Or potentially more chokes. More chokes could be viable. It's stuff that even if you choke them, they only need 1 mana to Leyline it, if they have Leyline out. But yeah. Definitely a matchup I need more time with. I've only played against it twice. But it seems pretty brutal. The hexproof on creatures in first strike is pretty big. But yeah, pretty good mix of decks tonight. Goblins, Reanimator, Leyline. Could play a Soldier of the Pantheon. Is that the one that has protection from multicolor? Yeah, this little guy, protection from multicolored. We are on the draw, but we have a decent hand. Like a spell land in Wasteland, we have turn 2 Orc. On the draw, but we also have the mana just to work towards Beast. Opponent's gone to 6 cards. 5 cards. Any sort of mulligan these days in Legacy makes me think of Reanimator, but the Sticker Goblin decks are also pretty good at mulliganing. Brand Archon. We are just going to concede here. Yeah, I shouldn't have actually. I went to draw a card there. Again for this matchup. Surgical, Deafening Silence, Thralls, Thoughtseize. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. 8. 9. There we go. Yo, what's that? 3 Reanimator. Maybe Leyline is worth it. There's been a few matches tonight. Or at least a few discussions around like the best graveyard hate right now. Like maybe Leyline of just turning off graveyards is good. Although the game against the black-red deck was obviously playing Show and Tell post-board, which Leyline does nothing against. Not this hijack. Like we've probably played it twice in the last 5 leagues. So 3 times the league is definitely higher than expected. Yeah, exactly. So I think you can't really say that it's always been high. But yeah, on the play, feel a bit better. Deafening Silence start, Thoughtseize potentially. Okay. Pretty happy to keep this. It is a 1-lander, but we do have the turn 1 Silence. And then can build out mana from there. Pitch a Traxer. Could take the Ignoble, but the Green Suns is pretty much If they have Animate Dead, I assume they just take the Force of Vigor. Vigor for Green Suns. I guess it's kind of like the most unknown card in the deck. Bayou's nice as a 3-drop. Archon's pretty good here. I guess like Grizzlebrand obviously is pretty good as well. But Archon would have been GG. It's interesting because now like they can draw, but we can get rid of... I guess they could draw into Grist to take out the... I think Wasteland's probably the best draw. Maybe? Like if they have end step Entomb again. Grief. Interesting. Wasteland's actually probably not great. I have swords, but like they've already drawn 14 cards, so yeah. I don't think we actually have an out. Tough. 2-3. which is pretty brutal. Maybe thinking about like the board should just be more direct cards. Doorkeeper was cool, but maybe like instead of waiting for turn 2, I should be more on more like Snuff Outs if I want to answer Mind Goblin. And maybe for Graveyard, like Leyline is just better, potentially. Definitely very tricky. I've seen some lists running like a Snuff Out in the main deck. Potentially more Endurance in the main deck as well. Go down on mums. I do like the thought of the poison, pick your poison. But sorcery speed is a big ask. It does come with flexibility. But that's always a tough one. But yeah. A tough league for sure. I think yeah. It's just tough beating beans when they've already drawn a card. Like I usually find like the best way from a resource perspective is Trap Breaker, dealing with it, but it can be very awkward to not cast spells against beans where you want to try to build out the board a bit. But yeah, I do really like the 3 Force of Vigors. I kind of feel like Force of Vigor for Maverick is just the Force of Will against a lot of the decks that try to churn out like a turn 1 Blood Moon or like Saga plus something else, or like even some of the more fair decks like Depths playing Force of Vigor, playing Sylvan Library and Mox Diamond is interesting. Deafening Silence as well, like obviously with Deafening Silence and Surgical you have to untap. Maybe that's not where we want to be. Maybe you just want to be on like 4 ley lines, and if it's a combo deck that doesn't care about leyline, you know, you just have to rely on things like Thalia, Collector Ouphe, and Teeg. That's always an interesting choice. Yeah. Maybe we'll run it back. Maybe, yeah. No, I'll go to Sunday. We'll catch you next time. A big thank you to all of you for coming in and watching. A big thank you to Caleb as well for the raid. I'll be back on Thursday night for a stream, which will be pretty cool. But until then, I'll see who else is streaming and send you all over there. The pit streaming, which is sweet. So you guys can enjoy that. Thanks again. A big thank you to your followers and the resubscribers as well. And yeah, catch you next time.